So, question number one. What do you believe are the most important character traits to possess that help you create a successful marriage and why?
So I'll say selflessness.
Love it.
Um, and I would say that just it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Like there are there are just times and just regularly, like you have to be able to, I don't know, like either compromise or even just do things that you don't necessarily want to do, or
Mhm.
that I don't know, that your spouse wants to do. And I don't know, sorry.
No, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, and I'd say, yeah, I mean, certainly being willing to talk to each other. I don't think I was very good at that at the beginning. Will has always been better at that, and he'd come find me and make me talk, and just to treat each other like a friend as well as a spouse. You can kind of start
Mm.
taking what's that word? Advantage or something
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, they're around all the time, but even when I was like, Will, do you want to go first? Just the little things where you like ask each other, what do you want to do today? And if you don't really feel like going on a walk, but your spouse wants to go on a walk and you can do it, then it's just better to say yes. So, yeah,
Mm. I love
that's
that.
sacrifice.
All right.
Sorry, Jenny,
Next.
I thought of just one more thing. It
Oh,
might
yeah.
be another question, but certainly, I think to realize that you will both change over
Mm.
the course of your marriage, right? So, um, and just being okay with that. And I think something I had to learn too was that Will is not going to be a perfect replica of me and what I think and what I would do and what I would say in situations. And I have to remind myself, for not so much anymore, but certainly when we were first married, that he's him and I'm me. And it's not like people are like, oh, Will is Sarah. Like we're different people. He can think different
Mhm.
things, but we can still be a really great couple. So,
Mm. I love that. Thank you. All right. Next question is, what did you not discuss before marriage that you wish you would have discussed and why?
I guess for me, not really. We did get married pretty quickly, relative to how long most people take. I think we were married within like 8 or 9 months. But
Mm.
we both had similar backgrounds, so that helped. And we did spend a lot of time together. But again, I think going in knowing that it's okay if you change, and also just always talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't think of anything specific I wish we would have talked about. I would say the first year was very hard for me because I was used to working and making my own money. And then I got pregnant, and, Will was the one making money. It was really hard for me to not have my own money and my own bank account
Uh-huh.
because that made me feel very independent. So it could have been, finance, as they always say, but just like, and Will reassured me, when I broke down and cried about it, he was like, Sarah, it's our money. I think about it as our money. And then we set up, like, when we spend over $100, we should talk to each other about it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just reassuring me that it's our money. And honestly, it did help when I started making money again and felt like, and just, I enjoy working and contributing to society. But anyway, I'd say, yeah, that's probably for me. What about you, Will?
um I remember that first year just being a little bit tricky. And maybe it wasn't even a full year, but a little bit tricky. In addition to the money thing, just maybe how we would spend our time and with whom.
Mm.
Um, I think for a little bit there, Sarah was used to hanging out with her friends during the week, which is right. I mean, why wouldn't she? That's what you do when you're single. And then when we got married, um, I think maybe I felt uncomfortable when, I guess depending on just how often, right? She would want to go hang out with her friends still during the week. And anyway, so I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how a discussion would look with that, but just I guess yeah, how we spend our time. I mean, do we still hang out with the boys or go out with the girls, or one night a week or two nights a week, or having some sort of a, yeah, just a conversation about that, and maybe how that would look once we're married.
Okay, very nice. What is it about marriage that has brought you the most joy and why?
Along with marriage, of course, our children,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is I don't know. I think we both probably would think that that's like just, I don't know, so rewarding and so much fun. But also just having uh, a best friend all the time, and not having to worry and think about like, okay, what am I going to do tonight or this week, or when is this going to happen? You know, like, am I going to be in love or find love, or like just that security, I guess, that comes with having a friend and a spouse that you get to be with all the time.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, being able to make plans together and knowing that you'd be together. I'd say for me, Janie, we both were older when we got married, so I had dated quite a bit and Will had too. But certainly just the reassurance that um you didn't have to try to like put on your best side anymore. Not that you didn't for
Mm,
each other, right? But
mm-hmm.
that whole like anxiety about dating, and I mean part of that's fun too for a while, and then it gets really old. Um
Yeah.
so just knowing that you're going to be accepted and loved because they've seen your bad sides, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that was a great thing for me, and I do still love that.
I love that.
And to just sharing moments and things like
Mm-hmm.
some of our favorite things individually are even more fun with a friend.
Good. Ah, I'm loving this. All right. Next one is, what is your strategy to maintain unity even when you are independent and busy people?
Um, Sarah mentioned this earlier, but communication, I think, is one. So I would say maybe a couple of things. So communication for sure, that willingness again to be selfless and flexible, and um, I had a third one, but I forgot. Go ahead, Sarah. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd just say I think, Janie, when you get married and you start to have a really deep relationship with someone, with Will, I like know when we're a little off as a couple because we haven't
Mm-hmm.
talked for a while, because we've been running around, or I can kind of tell when something might be bothering him, and it might not be about me, but just when something's bothering him. And those are the times when I know I have, within the next 24 hours I need to set aside some time, that we go to the grocery store together and we just talk on the way, that we go for a walk. I think Will and I have been good at that, just having time where the two of us talk a couple times a week, like a check
Mm-hmm.
in a couple times a week.
I love that.
And it's not planned, but I think we do it, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we go on a lot of walks and drive places together.
How do you communicate about finances together and stay on the same page?
This might be an area maybe we're not the best at, actually.
That's
Um,
okay.
we should we I think we agreed that we probably need to discuss finances more often and our plan more often. Um, that would be good, and that's something that we're working on. But also I think that we are pretty reasonable, I would say, from the get-go with our spending and our habits. And like Sarah mentioned, if we make a large purchase, I think we generally tell the other, and we discuss it. But I think we're just in the first page, just more. I don't know. We're
We're
not
similar
extravagant
in how we
spenders, right?
spend money. We're
Mm,
similar in how we think. But I will say, Janie, because I think Will and I have a really good relationship with finances, like our relationship to finances. But I still think there's still kind of a male dominant, the men take care of the bills, the men make sure the
mm,
taxes are paid, like the husband does that, and that's fine if that's how you want to divide it out. But I'm telling you, from my perspective as the wife, I love that I get to pay the bills, because then I know what's going on. I know what we have, so I know how much we can or can't spend. And I don't know how many couples actually do that, where, like literally I pay almost all of the bills except the phone bill.
Hmm.
Will and I pretty much do our taxes together every year. I know how much we're getting back. He knows how much we're getting back. And I think because I've cared to be a part of finances, it's actually helped. Whereas I feel like
Okay.
some couples that the wife would rather just not know or not get involved or, doesn't care, then how would she even know how much they do have to spend?
Mm-hmm.
That really does help me because if I know we're overspending and we can barely pay our bills one month, the next month I am very careful about not spending. But if I just, was like, hey, yeah, pay that $4,000 credit card bill, and Will's the one that takes the brunt of it, I think that can really put, a barrier in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I will say it really is it's a confidence boost for me, and it makes me feel again like just that I'm more of a contributor to society when I can contribute to our income. I
Mm-hmm.
really, that is a yes, empowered, I but since you're interviewing Will and I, right? So this is my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's been very helpful to me. Will has his account. I still have my account that I've had forever. And we tell each other how much we have in those accounts. It's not a secret. But I love having my account that I know how much is in it and what's there. And I'm sure Will feels the same, right? I actually think that's been really good for me. It's so much easier to control your spending when you know what you have.
Yeah, that is true. That
And
is
also
true.
just to plan, right? Because I'll save some of my money that I made. Like you had used Will's money to pay our bills and to do everything we needed to. And then the extra money I made is what let us go to Europe. And it was all of
Mm.
ours, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm going to save mine and put it aside
All the
so that
fun
we
stuff
have
comes
that.
from Sarah's account, and all the boring stuff comes from my account.
But it's all ours, Will. It's all
It's true.
ours.
How do you effectively address and resolve any conflict that arises in your marriage?
Those are hard. Honestly,
Yeah.
sometimes I just have to walk away.
Mm.
I walk away for a couple of hours. I do something unrelated, and then I realize, all right, you got to face it. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Um, so then we try to talk about it, and we do talk about it. And honestly, I don't think we resolve it the first time around. Sometimes we
Mm.
talk about it, and then it's still not resolved, and we pick it up again in a couple weeks or a month, and we try to talk about it some more. Um, but I will say those are times when your relationship really grows too, because,
Mm.
again, when you go through really hard times, like things that are really hard for you to talk about, that you just would rather pretend aren't there, but then you do talk about them, that confidence with your spouse is built again, right? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we totally disagree on this, or we don't feel the same, but we can still be a strong couple together as long as we appreciate each other um and admire each other even though we disagree on things.
my my preference is to get things out and talk about them right away and work it out. I don't like to sit on things and have it like marinate and have to feel like it's weighing on me and stressing me out. And so I prefer just to get it out there and talk about it. Sarah seems to have the other side of things. So there's a compromise there too, where like I try to discuss it or try to bring it out, but then also try, hopefully anyway, to be supportive and understanding and give enough space to let Sarah process or discuss things or work things out too. I don't know.
Yeah, because I feel uncomfortable talking. So, after 2 hours, I'd rather wait a week. But then I'm like, but Will wants to talk about it now.
Yeah.
I think we both probably have to hold off on our gut feelings and
Mm.
again think of each other first and try to do hard things.
I like that.
One thing that's actually like, this will make more sense. I don't feel like any of, and these will make more sense when you get married anyway, but one thing that helps me, Janie, I am much better at writing things down than I am at speaking them when it comes to
Oh.
saying, you know, what I feel or when I'm hurt or things like that. So sometimes I'll text Will
Oh,
instead
okay.
because then I can get it out. And even if I'm angry, I know he can handle that, and then it will at least start a discussion. So I don't think Will prefers that, but again, I know I'm better sometimes at writing than speaking.
According to research, the best predictor of marital satisfaction is the degree to which you believe you have divided household responsibilities fairly between the two of you. What does that process of communicating about distributing different household responsibilities look like for the two of you?
Actually do a pretty good job dividing household responsibilities. He's supportive of me when I go to work, and he tries to pick up when I'm gone and vice versa. Jane, I don't know that we've ever sat down. In fact, I know we haven't. We've never sat down and been like, okay, well, garbages are yours. And
Hmm.
I always sweep the floors. Like, it's never been a list like that. It's more like, oh, Will forgot to take the garbage out today. He usually does, but he didn't. So I'm going to try to take it out. Never really talked about it. So I guess Will and I are pretty good at like seeing what needs to be done and doing it, or just closing the door and being like, you know what? Clearly Will doesn't want to do dishes today, or clearly Sarah is done cleaning the kitchen today. Let's just ignore it. Get up in the morning, and usually one of us is in a better mood to get it done. Right, Will?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I think some jobs maybe we're more naturally inclined to do, either because of society or whatever else. We feel like there's responsibility, you know, things that are dirty jobs or big jobs or heavy jobs, whatever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm more inclined to do those things from the get-go, but I feel like you kind of feel those things out too throughout the marriage. And so um I don't know, like the same thing with outdoor like mowing the lawn. Like I kind of feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like that's my job, you know, or the outside jobs. But Sarah's made it clear on many occasions that she actually enjoys mowing the lawn and she doesn't have an issue with that. And so um, I don't know. Again, just all of it, just being flexible, I guess, and willing to share and just do what needs to get done in the end. So whether it's doing dishes or mowing the lawn, I don't feel like one job is anybody's job in particular. And then I don't know. I think that might be something really important to discuss. Actually, in fact, that's one of the maybe one of the really important things to discuss before marriage is responsibilities, or at least understanding your spouse's view on traditional things or things that maybe are
Like the wife always does the
right.
dishes and cleans bathrooms. You
Mm-hmm.
know, just because that's what his mom always did. But if you don't like it, I think you should say something about it. And Will he hates cleaning bathrooms, and he does kind of have his back is better, but leaning over the sink has been hard. So I do the dishes probably 75% of the time, and I clean the bathrooms like 90% of the time because I know that's hard on him, and he's told me that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, so
And even roles though, like cooking, for example,
yeah,
like
but Will
that's
cooks a lot.
like I cook quite a bit, and I don't think we ever had a set discussion about that either. It's just, again, we need to eat. We both know that's got to happen, and sometimes either, you know, I enjoy cooking, and so maybe I want to cook something, or I recognize that Sarah's unable to cook, um, or I recognize that Sarah's been cooking a lot, and so I'm going to cook something. And just that understanding overall of, okay, these are things that need to get done, and there's nothing that says anywhere that this is Sarah's job and not my job, or vice versa. I think we get along really well in that area without really having to discuss it. But I
Hmm.
think that might be fairly unique. I think there are a lot of couples that have expectations of the other's roles for, you know, for being a man or a woman, that they're expected to do this thing or assumed to do this thing. And that's one worth talking about, I would say.
Okay. Cool.
And that goes too with working, right? Where so
Yeah.
Sarah, she enjoys working, and there are many positive things that come out of her working. that empowerment and making money and contributing to society, getting a break from kids, and just there's so many important things and good things that happen from her working. But I think there are a lot of couples that would have that challenge, and struggle with that, and even just the ability, even if you discuss it at first and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then one partner changes their mind, the flexibility to say, all right, well, I can change. I need to be flexible with this and change. And I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess I'll say too, Janie, Will has been awesome in doing things that even just he likes to cook. He doesn't like to bake, but he's been great at just stepping in. And I feel like part of that might be because both of us both of us have at least a 4-year degree. He certainly studied communication. I studied public health. I mean, I think we were both okay not having traditional roles. Even though certainly grandma is the only one who cooked at my house, right?
Yeah.
But I am so grateful that I learned it doesn't have to be that way, because I really think our marriage is better. And I think my life is happier. And I hope Will's too, because we help each other out and, do things we like and have to do some things we don't like. But, neither of us feel stuck. And I think that's really important.
And I think what you said too, I think we both have a couple of jobs that we know the other one hates to do, and we both step up and fill that role.
Does one of you have more power in decision making, or do you feel like you have pretty equal power?
Sarah has more power, hands down.
Oh, wow. That's probably true for like how we spend our time. Certainly vacations, we do talk about it, but in the end, I'm the one that plans. I'm the planner. But if Will feels strongly about something, he does have to tell me he feels strongly about it, but then we'll do it.
I said that jokingly, but there is truth to it, but in a way that, in a positive way. Like,
we usually talk about most decisions. Like if I'm worried about one of the kids in school, or we feel like they need a different teacher, or we're wondering if Clara should do volleyball, like that's what we talk about at night, and then we decide, and most often both of us go into the decision together. But for vacations, I usually do just plan those, don't I? Will plans them anyway.
But even those we've taken turns. Like there have been years where, or just different things where I'll take over the planning for that. But really, ideally, that power is shared, and even if it's not, not everything is 50%, but overall, I would say that the power is shared and close to that anyway. But in certain areas, maybe I'm the one that's more in charge.
Like when we bought a car, Will was like, we're going to buy this car. I know which one we want, and we're going to spend X amount of money on it. And now we're paying it off. And I would not have chosen that. That was Will's decision, but I trusted him because he did a ton of research on it. And I trust that's not my thing. I don't know cars or vehicle. Anyway, that was your decision, don't you think? More than mine. But we certainly talked about it.
It was more mine because I knew Sarah didn't want to do it.
Once we decided, even if it would have been a lemon, or at some point it is, I'm not going to be like, Will, you chose it. It's like, that's over. You just got to let go and be like, okay, we bought it. That was our choice. You can't hold it over someone and keep bringing things up, So we don't do that. I can't remember the last time we bring up old hurts or pains, We do not do that to each other.
What wise advice do you have for those who are not yet married?
Maybe the most, that's saying a lot, I guess. Maybe the most important thing about Sarah that I didn't consciously think of and I appreciate so much now is her attitude and mood, and how that affects our kids and our home and just everything, right? She's so calm and easygoing and steady, and where sometimes I will get frustrated or upset or or maybe, not in a good way, like I'll overreact to something and get more emotional or frustrated or whatever else. She is really good about keeping things calm. And it's easy to do with kids to get frustrated. A relationship is so different when it's just the two of you than it is when you bring kids into the picture, and then you have to deal with their frustrations and their issues. I mean, you get to choose your spouse and you know what you're getting into to some extent, and in large extent, right? You know what you're getting into with your spouse, but you have no idea what you're getting with kids and how they're going to be and how they're going to react. And Sarah, though, she's just so even keeled and grounded that she brings a lot of peace to our home and things in an area that I didn't consciously think about, I guess, with kids and all of that, how that would play into the picture. But it's been great. It's a huge strength of hers.
So maybe try to wait till some of that infatuation has worn off before you decide to get married, so you see things with, clear, uh uh not rose colored glasses, but just a little bit more normal. And
Yeah.
that's hard to do. And again, it's really fun to see the world through rose colored glasses and to be in love. That's like really special. But being willing to accept and see people's faults, I guess that's it too. Because
Mm.
if you go home and you're talking to your mom and your mom's like, well, he seems to be kind of possessive. He likes to know where you are, and you're just like, oh, mom, that's not a big deal. That's not. Instead, be like, oh, if my mom recognized that, maybe that is something I should think about.
Mhm.
And what am I going to do about it? Right. So, again, asking the people who know you best for their opinion. I think that is
Mm.
probably one of the best things you could do.
But I would say, yeah, it's people that you trust to talk to and maybe just get their impressions, just
Mm.
to make sure there isn't
Yeah.
anything glaring that maybe you're gonna miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, if there is, then you try to address it, right? And then when, I tell you or your mom tells you, like, well, did you think about this? You could say, actually, I can see that and accept that it's a real, and then
Mhm.
say, that's something we've talked about. And I'm really hopeful we'll be able to work through the hard things around that, right? So,
Mhm.
um, and sorry, just one last thing, Janie. Something that came really easily with Will, that didn't come easily with a lot of the guys I dated, is just we've just always been able to have really good conversations, and that was a top priority for me. Everybody, I don't know that that would be a top priority for everyone, but I certainly like to have deep, real conversations with people. Um, and again, that came easily for me. And I think that's partly why Will and I do have such a good relationship, because I mean, we really are best friends, It's
Mhm.
easy to tell each other things. I mean, I never felt like Will was, judging me if I messed up and said something, that, I don't know, was not politically correct, or, we would just laugh about it. And I think that's really important, feeling like you can say things and your date or your spouse isn't going to, make you feel dumb about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
I'll throw one more thing out there, Janie, and it's something that I would think about with our own kids, and I would say this, share the same thing with you, as I see you as family and somebody I care about. And this is going to be maybe a little going against what we hear often, and that's don't rush to get married. There are things that come with time and experience, and it's okay. And ideal, if I could throw a number out there, I would say wait till you're at least 25 to get married anyway. As you're dating and as you're living life now, just try to figure out who you are and the things you want, so when that time does come along, you're ready for it.
Um,
Mm.
anyway, I think I spent a lot of time worrying and being sad when I could have just continued to be more of a light to more people.
I love that. Thanks.